Okay, here's your first step in making your homebrew beer. First you need bottles to put the beer into. And the best thing to do is to get them for pretty cheap. And they're $1 each. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this pop that's in here. It's got sugar, sugar pop. And we're going to add yeast to that. Just regular baking yeast. It's $5 for the entire package for that. And we're going to take a little bit out of each, put it in another bottle, so we actually have 10 instead of 9. And that way we've got, I'm just going to show you how we should do 12. Okay, so we've got 12 of these, all about that full, because that's what you need the room for making the beer. And the yeast will eat the sugar to produce the alcohol and the CO2, which you can then drink. So that way we get our bottles to make the beer. So this is a precursor to making beer as cheap as you possibly can. Each of these 97 cents. And I'm going to get hopefully free bottles of booze out of this. It's only a regular beer strength by putting the yeast in, and then you're siphoning it off later. Very simple, very cheap. And this is a precursor to being a homebrew perfectionist. Ciao. Okay, are we taping? Not sure. Yeah, we are. Okay, so I went and got the ginger ale, and here's my funnel to put this yeast into. And when I open it, all I'm going to do is put it in a small bit, I'm not sure, half a teaspoon each, maybe less than that, half a teaspoon. Put my hand on it and shake it up, my clean hand, washed hand, and then put cellophane over the top. And that should be good. And these will, because it is sugar, the yeast should eat the sugar, and that will give me my free bottles, as well as produce a swack of ginger beer, which won't taste much gingery, but it might taste something like that. We'll try it, something to try. Now we can get going to make a homebrew kit. Ta-da! End of story. I'll talk to you after I've done this. So you know what I found is that the paper funnel was a waste of time and effort. I'm going to here's a dry, clean, 1/4 teaspoon only going into that. That wasn't quite enough. Put that. And we'll try this. It's an experiment. Looks like it's working already. Let's see, we got some yeast starting to form. Bubbles on my beer, or my pop. You can hear it. Well, I'm afraid I have a lot of sugar here. And that's the last of this. Okay, we're done. Yeast is in, you can hear it percolating. There we are, it's starting to work already. Yeast is eating it. So it'll be, I'm going to put the lids on and shake them up. So I've got the yeast done in there. Whoa, too much. It's alive! It's alive. Okay, you get the point. So we're going to put cellophane on top of that, and in about a week we should be done. So I'll come back to you in a week and we'll do a taste test. Okay, ciao. Okay, so now we've got our 12 bottles of 2-liter bottles of ginger ale, which are filled to about a 1/4 inch below the paper, top of the paper. And so I got 9 bottles, and by filling them, putting the 9 into the 3, I end up with all about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch below, about a 1/4 inch below the top of the paper. And this is, I put the cellophane on loosely because the CO2 is going to be coming out like crazy. Later on, you're going to want to tighten it up with a rubber band after a couple of days, because that way it'll tighten it up. And I'll get you through that next step next, because this can sit here fine till then. So that's it. And we're going to try this out, see if it works. Ciao. Okay, so I said I was going to try and make the brewskis. You need the bottles first. So I got ginger ale. I added a 1/4 of a cup of dextrose, and as well as the sucrose, and sucrose was already in there, and glucose was already in there, and because there wasn't enough. And so that was 2 weeks ago. So it took that long. Now this is how it is, and you can't hear very loudly, but you hear that a little bit. So this is almost ready, and that's why I'm squeezing it to let it sit for 1 more day like this. And it doesn't taste very sweet, so we know it's pretty well used up all of the sucrose, dextrose, and all the rest that was there for the yeast. So I'm just going to let it 1 more day, and then I'm going to get a straw siphon, and siphon it all off into a container, and put it back in here again soon when I've done that. So it's 2 weeks, bit of a waste of time, but now you have your 12 bottles you need for your beer. Okay, there you are. And now you also have a beer that's quote ginger beer, which we'll drink starting in a couple of days. Not very strong or tasty or whatever, but we'll go from there. Well, hallelujah, brother. The ginger beer worked. I had to add a 1/4 cup of dextrose to each of these in order to make it work. And as you see here, it produced a lot of fizz. And I've done this every day. Release the CO2 and put it back on. So I'll do this a few more times, and then I think you decant it one last time before you drink it, and then you drink it. It's not that exciting, a brewski, ginger-ish, but there you go. Come on, what do you care? It's 97 cents for the empty bottles, for the ginger ale, and you put in say 10 cents worth of dextrose, shake it up, add a 1/4 teaspoon of yeast, and it's been 2 weeks though, or maybe 3 weeks by the time it's through, because it's kind of finicky with the other sugars, not the dextrose, but the more complicated sugars that the yeast can't eat so well. The beet sugar, which is sucrose, as opposed to the dextrose, which is corn sugar. Okay, there you go, a little lesson. Okay, so we got our bottles ready to go to make our beer. Once it's right here, you see here's my beers getting made. 2 different kinds. One's an ale. This one's a Pilsner, and this one's an Irish Stout. You've already seen that video, or you will coming up. So there you go. We'll go from there, and good luck. It's nowhere near ready, but it will be soon. Okay, ciao. One last very important point. After you've been taking your bottles like this one, you see that there's gunge on the inside, residue from the brewskis, and then you got to clean it off. You clean it off by putting say a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of bleach in this thing of water till the gunge on the side comes off the bottles. And so then you just transfer the bleach water is in here. You then transfer the bleach water to the next one and rinse this out a couple times pretty cleanly. That way it's clean. And so you keep recycling this 2 liters of bleach water until you've cleaned all 12. And hang on a second, if I can get this one opened. There, that's what I just did. And you see, it's lots of stuff in the bottom still. So this isn't ready. So it's got to settle down, and then you pour it off into another, say this clean bottle, and except for the last little bit in the bottom here, which I just knocked back. I drink because it's only dead yeast, which is vitamin B3 anyway, so it's not harmful to you in the least. And that's just an important point, to keep it cleaner when you're drinking it, so it's cleaner, more like this. It's still pretty murky, but it's better than, say, something like this, which is plain gungy. Okay, buds, make sure you clean your bottles with the bleach and then rinse the bleach out so it's clean.